Good morning, friends. Steve here. And I'm doing this video after participating in the collective healing conference that was hosted by Thomas Hubel and others. And there were 45 presenters, and it was very impactful. A group of 45 people talking about healing and talking about the state of the world, which was helpful as it was challenging. Just going to make sure my phone is turned off. But before I go into talking about various things, telling healing stories in a way, I'm going to suggest that we set up a healing field for today so that other people can be watching this later and just work with these energetics. So the first thing in setting up a healing field is to do a variety of things. The first, I think there's 6 of them, things that you could say out loud. The rest of them I'll just call in the various beings that we utilize in the healing field, in this particular healing field that we're working with. So the first thing is, if you just state out loud, I connect to my deep self. And I connect to my higher self. And if you want to create a little more space for yourself, you could also state, I connect to my highest self. And then I would suggest that you state out loud, I ground myself to the healing center of the earth. And notice when you state that, what happens if you feel like on some level your consciousness goes down through your feet into the planet below you, into the center of that planet, into the healing center of that planet. If you experience that you kind of leave to go down into the healing center of the earth to have the experience, or if you felt, I ground myself to the healing center of the earth, and you found yourself going inside to your center. Because you are made of the earth. This is a animated form, much like a tree that's not rooted in the same way, a tree that can move around. I think in Monty Python they might have been called ents, trees that moved around, or it might have been some other novel. But just notice where you centered in the earth, if you imagine yourself going down into the planet Earth and centering to its healing center, or you found the healing center of your earth being in this body in which you inhabit space. And then the next thing you might say is, I open myself to the healing power of the One, or the oneness. Sometimes I feel like people can relate more to the oneness than to the one, which makes sometimes people narrow it down to like a figure, a historical figure. They think of that as the one. So the oneness, which is a bigger space, includes all of us. And then it's useful to say, I choose to let go of anything no longer useful to me. And then just notice what you feel kind of drift off, however you experience it. And then there's 7th dimensional beings that go by the word, the Hathors, or Hators, And if you choose to work with them, just state out loud, I choose to work with the Hathors. And they are very supportive in these times of rapid change. So the energetics of the planet are changing rapidly. Our physical bodies, which vibrate to the energetics of the planet, are changing rapidly. Our energetics are changing rapidly, which is causing physical shifts, mental shifts, emotional shifts, spiritual shifts. That's all happening, and kind of in the lifestyle in some ways that many of us have felt pushed into. We're too busy to really check in and to check in with ourselves and to pay attention to how we're doing. So we just keep going and push forward with the idea that someday we'll have enough time to be present. If I just hurry through this, someday I'll arrive in a place where I can be present. Like now. Here you are. You've arrived. All that work you did, you're here. And when you connect to your deep self and connect to your higher self, you ground yourself to the healing center of the earth and open yourself to the healing power of the oneness, you may feel more here. And then if you choose to work with the Hathors, you may feel more of that presence working with you, working with the energetics. I worked with them, I continue to work with them, but I worked with them very specifically for about 7 years, where they're continually training me how to change my perception of the reality that I was having of the world around me. And it was very useful and effective. And if they start talking to you, I suggest you listen. They've got a large vision and can help you achieve your vision. Not give you a different vision, but help you achieve your vision. Okay, that's just getting into the proper space and time and presence. And so now I'll just go through, and you can say the words out loud as I say them if you want, or you can just experience each of the beings or groups of beings that I call in. But I start off by saying that I choose to set up a healing field for us. And I ask that the Brotherhood of Light please be present. The Deva of Healing please be present. The Pan of Nature please be present. Sisterhood of Light please be present. All of our helpers and guides please be present. Now, all our helpers and guides who live outside of bodies and experience past, present, and future concurrently, they know who their people are that are going to be participating in this healing session. So when I say, I ask that all of our helpers and guides please be present within the field that we're setting up, they just all show up because they know you're going to be tuning into this later and listening to this, and your helpers and guides will be present. I ask that Saint Germain please be present. Metatron please be present. Kuan Yin please be present. Master Mo please be present. Master Kunli please be present. Christ Consciousness please be present. Holders of Space please be present. Sanat Kumara please be present. Abrahamanad please be present. Alcazar please be present. The interdimensional being please be present. Thoth please be present. Ra please be present. Deep Self please be present. Higher Self please be present. And our Soul Ray group please be present. And I ask that we be placed in a field of protection while we do this work. ask the higher self to take us through the portal of time to the event that would be of the highest good, to release and integrate at this time. And just notice where you go and how it feels. And you can stay away from it, because on a soul level you're back at it, but you don't have to travel back to it and experience quite so intensely. You can stay back from it and let your soul go back, and the soul will just release and integrate the energy of the event for itself, which will then affect you. And I invite all souls affected by this event to return to this event to release and integrate the energy of the event for themselves. Ask that they all be within this field of protection while they do their work. And upon our arrival at the event, I ask the higher self to assist us to release and integrate all energies of the event, gently and easily, fully and completely, on all levels and through all space and time. Okay, the healing field is set up. If you have things that you need to do, I try to set this, I try to get this kind of set up within the first 5 minutes or so, but here it's already 11 and a half minutes have gone by just to set the field up. So I'm going to get better at that, just setting the intention to get better and more timely. But anyway, if you wish to, just be in the field and go do things that you might need to be doing, then you can do that. And if you stay around, I'll probably tell a few stories and then do the closing of the healing field at the end where the new energies come in. So I'll do that. And in the description, I'll describe what time that the closing of the healing field, what time in the video that will take place. So you can just look at that and just go there if you don't want to listen to possible stories in between. Okay, so this is when you pause and go off and do what you need to do. So then if you come back and you come back to the spot where you paused, then I'll say welcome back, and later you can look, you can just scan forward and see where it is that I'll pause before the closing part of this. And so this part of it's just going to be talking a little bit about the last few days and a lot of the changes that I felt took place over the last few days. So I was participating on the free online collective healing conference hosted by Thomas Hupel. And I kept feeling like I wanted, when you search that and you go to their site, you can also pay a fee. It's, I think, $197, and you can attend interactive classes if you want to, and go through kind of some courses. And most of it is just conversations between people putting the conference on and people who are the presenters of the conference. Those were incredibly excellent. And so I made the choice today, after the conference, because I had enough going on and I was spending enough time watching these various presenters, but after the conference I decided I wanted to go back through these various videos and listen to them again, because they really produced some positive change for me while I went through the process. So one of the videos that I was able to access through the conference was a video, and it's a YouTube video, and it's by Michael Mead. I'm going to just take a moment and see What car is outside? The house is next door is for sale, so there's cars occasionally, not too often, coming and going, looking at the house. So I listened to a video about, by Michael Mead, who's he's a lovely human being, and he's along the Robert Bly, Joseph Campbell vein. He's like a mythologist, and he's done a lot of work, and some of the work he did. So he started off with a song in the video, so you can find it in YouTube, Michael Mead, and it has the word overwhelm in it. It's about this time period that we're all in, where we're possibly feeling disconnected from reality and feeling like our world is possibly feeling like our world is falling apart and collapsing, and we're possibly feeling stressed by rising costs of things and state of the economy and the fact that there's wars going on in various places, and that we are part of this, when you state, I am that I am, or we are all an aspect of oneness, then with these things going on, depending on how shut down we are or how open we are energetically aware. Kind of like if you lived with someone, or a cat, or a dog, then they're wanting to catch your attention, or you feel kind of a disturbance in the field, and then you check in possibly with that energetics, that person, and the person can say to you, well, I'm kind of upset about some, and they might say about this or that. And you understand, oh, that's what that is. But when you feel that disturbance, and you're just like, oh, what is that? Well, if you really do the work, you can actually feel what that is if you're willing to go there, because a lot of this stuff that's happening right now can be very painful for those who are going through it and for those who are experiencing it, because they're connected to those who are going through it, because we're connected to each other. So Michael Mead sang this song, and he said, I believe he said at the beginning of the video that the song was by Malidoma Some, who is from a tribe in Africa, and Michael Mead went and spent time with him, with his tribe, and they sang this song, and it was just one word, but it was a beautiful melody, but it was just one word, which means reconnecting to the earth. I'm saying that, and I think that that's true from my memory. I'm going to watch the video again because the song was very impactful, and I felt like I released my burdens, energetic burdens, the things that I was carrying that was making me feel overwhelmed, and like there was too much going on, there was too much for me to do, all those thoughts we have, and we're thinking, and we just get into our head, and we come out of our body into our head, and we disconnect from the earth, and we kind of lose our ground. We lose our balance. So this was a song to bring us back into that balance. And I may link a description to it, and you could just watch the first few minutes where he sings the song. And when he sang the song, I just felt the grief that I'd been feeling, quite possibly from all these wars that are going on, quite possibly from the number of people who are living without homes, for the number of people who are living without enough to eat, by the people who are living with drug addictions, that are living in abusive environments, people that are attempting to recover from various traumas, that energy is in the field. And because I do healing work, both individual with individual clients, and then I continuously do healing work with the disturbance of the world field. So I set up a healing field in the end of January of 2020, so it's been going on about 4.5 years. And I've been working with the disturbed energetics that have been arising in people around the earth, and the changes in people and all that's going on. And all that energy, I've been helping to ground it. Now, I was able to get over 100 people. I asked them, I emailed them, texted them, asked them, can you help me with this? It's a lot for me. And so I got over 100 people. I think I counted initially 111 people contacted me and said, yes, I can help you with this. So that made it a lot easier. But for 4.5 years, I've been doing individual sessions and working with this world healing field. And at times I would feel really burdened by it, or I'd feel like I wasn't enough. I couldn't do enough. It was just so much, and there'd be larger disturbances that you'd feel like, blast off energies that would just be seem like so much. And at times all I could do was just work with those energetics and not do much else. And I would oftentimes just walk in the woods because I felt the help of the trees in integrating these energies that I was grounding. And I felt very supported by these trees and by just nature. And that's one of the things that people are somewhat disconnected from, is nature. And nature, the support of nature. And we are nature. They say human nature. Because what we're composed of, just goes back into the earth. So the earth is composed of all the cells of all of us that have gone back to the earth. And then those cells are brought together, when there's a sperm and an egg, and they fertilize, and they find a host. They find a womb to grow in, and then it grows and it uses the nutrients in the mother's system to form, it starts 2 cells, 4, 16, 32 billions. And it forms this human. That's where you came from. You came from the womb of your mother. Your field of energy held a space for the formation of all these cells to build into, which ended up being you and ended up being me. And I'm not even going to go into it. It was very interesting, but I have so little understanding of it. But I was watching a video by one of the presenters, and she was talking about the concept that the womb in the body was a reaction of the body to a virus. So you can look that up. And she was just talking about it, and I just heard that, and I thought it was interesting, but I don't really have any basis for any knowledge. And this is something that someone maybe studied or made up or whatever. But we all came from a womb. And we all came out into this life. And some came out and died very rapidly. Some didn't make it very long. And others have made it a really long time, say over 100, and they're still here. And they've seen so much that's gone on. I feel like I've seen a lot in 73 years. But Some. So Michael Meade, back to Michael Meade, he sang a song for the village of Some that was a one word but had, you know, a movement of the sound of that one word repeated. And what it did was it reconnected you with the earth, and it allowed you to let go of what you carried as a burden into the earth, because it isn't a burden for the earth. The earth is just holding us so that we can do our work. And if our work is for the earth, then the earth is supporting us, supporting it, supporting us, supporting it. So, and he told the story of Some, and I read one of the books by Some, and it may have been Of Water and the Spirit, Ritual Magic and the Initiation in the Life of an African Shaman. And so it's in the description, so I'm not going to give much away, but it's about an African man who is born into a tribe, and he was taken as a child by missionaries who took him to a missionary school hundreds and hundreds of miles away and attempted to indoctrinate him into the belief systems of the religion of these missionaries. And he was held there for 15 years. And he escaped. And he walked across Africa, hundreds and hundreds of miles, to find his home. And when he got back, his people recognized him, but they said, you know, you're no longer one of us. You're a white man now. In other words, you're like, you carry the world of the white man, and we don't wish that in our village. And he said, well, what would allow me back in? And they said, well, you could go through the initiation process, but all the other young people here have spent their whole lives preparing them for the initiation process. And still, with all that training, many of them don't make it through the process, don't come out the other side alive. And he just decided he wanted to be part of his village. And so he did what preparation he could for this initiation process, which was quite interesting and quite extensive. And came out the other side. Was accepted back into his village. And then they told him that they needed, because he was educated 15 years by Christian missionaries, they told him, now we need you as our village representative to go out into the world and get educated in the white world. So he was sent back. I think he was sent to America to get educated. So he had just done this 100 miles of walking, done this training so he could go through initiation, so he could be brought back into his community again. He goes through this whole process. He gets through the initiation. He comes out alive, and then they tell him, okay, now, as a member of our community, we're going to have you take your consciousness into the white world, get educated so you can bring that knowledge of our people to the world. And he did. And so his name is Some, and I'll just tell you, it doesn't give the book away to hear that story. The story is still amazing. It's an amazing story. It's his story, and it's an amazing story of what he went through. And Michael Meade, it sounded like that Malidoma Some passed away, maybe not too long ago. I didn't look that up. But I had such an intimate connection with that man through that book. I felt like I just came to know him through that experience. And maybe I'm telling this story because I have felt maybe most of my life that I didn't fit in. And most of the time I didn't want to fit in to what I was being asked to fit into, which was in some ways the Christian missionary school. Because even though I was born a white child, and my parents were white parents who were kind of Christian missionaries. They didn't go out and do that, but they were just so into it. And I just couldn't relate to Catholicism and its tenets, and it made no sense to my being. And so I felt like I had to really, at a certain point, just reject that and say, that's not for me. And then I actually studied philosophy and religion and spirituality in college, and I was just interested, like, why do people do these religions, and why do people believe these things that just are so hard for me to understand how people believe that. And I separated from that consciousness and felt apart from my family. And I found that throughout my life, I've had lovely people that I've worked with. I've, been a healer for, 40-some years, 45 years. Yeah. Been working with the healing arts for, 50. Over 50, 55 years. And through that, I felt like that was my community. It was a healing community. And I got involved in one spiritual group that I was a part of for, around 13 years, 14 years maybe. But then I was asked to leave because I was asking questions that made the leadership uncomfortable and pointed things out to their followers of things that just didn't make sense. And I was challenging this and felt like I needed to challenge this. And then the group kind of fell apart. First of all, they kicked me out. And they didn't fall apart because they kicked me out. But they kicked me out. But what I was attempting to bring into consciousness actually a year later came fully into consciousness, and then things kind of went south, I think is the saying for the community. But I got kicked out of that community, and that felt right. So first, religion I separated myself from because it didn't feel right to me. And the second group that I participated in quite thickly kicked me out. And even though it was painful to be, rejected, it felt completely right for me to be separated. Because I would have separated from it myself, but I felt like there was too many people in it that I could help through the transition. So I stayed around. But they kicked me out, and I left. And I didn't go back to any kind of a spiritual organization because I just didn't want, I wanted to heal from the separation from the state of oneness. And I felt like spiritual organizations were just keep giving people a way to oneness, and I just wanted to find my own way to experience my connection with the larger world. And I found that through guides. So beings that communicated with me, took me through processes like the Hathors. And yesterday I made a video, and this happened before, where I woke up in the morning, I just woke up in this tremendous amount of grief. And I was like, oh, this is so much. So I set up a field for myself, and I began doing yoga breathing, which always brings me into a deeper state of presence and connectedness and helps me to release all these energies that are just there, you know. And as I was doing it, I felt that it would be useful that I make sounds, and then it was suggested to me that I get my computer and actually record the sounds as they were being made. And it turned out that I went into some real depth of emotion. I didn't stay in the individual emotions for very long. As I made the sounds, it just helped to release that emotion, and then that emotion, and then that emotion, and on and on and on. I listened to it. I went back through it again for myself and found myself releasing those energies at an even deeper level by listening to the video. So this was yesterday's video. When you feel somewhat strong, like maybe this video today, if you come out of this video feeling more balanced, grounded, stable, then you might want to listen to those sounds, because those sounds are evocative and help us to release the things we're holding on to. It was not comfortable for me in the process, for one thing, to feel so exposed. And you don't see me. I've got just a picture of a beautiful piece of artwork in the background, but you hear me and you can feel me and know the depth of emotion that I'm in, that I'm releasing. So I'm getting better because I'm publishing these things. I'm uploading them. So I'm getting better at exposing the depths that I am willing to work, to encourage others that by releasing these energies they're holding on to, they'll come more into the flow of their life. They'll come more into their connection with their deep self, their higher self, the highest self, just bigger, just connecting bigger. The healing center of the earth, whether it's the healing center of their own earth, their physical body earth, or it's the healing center of the larger earth. They're kind of the same thing. You go to the healing center of the earth and then just put your hand over your chest and see if the healing center of the earth and the kind of the center of your chest, if they don't feel quite alike. The healing center of the earth and the healing center of your chest have they have the same kind of vibrational feeling. And that healing power of the oneness, the whole shebang, the whole energetic thing, that when we're more and more connected to that, things begin to flow. Our thoughts begin to flow. Our awareness of self increases. And as we release these unresolved energies of the past, and we release them, energies begin moving. And when those energies begin moving, we are revitalized. We are recharged. We have a body battery. The martial artists refer to it as the Dantian. And it's a place below the belly button, just about an inch below the belly button, where our body battery is, and it gets charged by the energies coming down from above, charge it, and the energies coming up from the earth, charge it. And it runs a circuit. It's just like putting a battery in the charger of one of your pieces of equipment. You use the equipment, it runs down the battery, you got to recharge it for the equipment to work. Same with the body. You have a body battery, it needs to be recharged. It's recharged through grounding. It's recharged through learning some form of breath work where you exhale twice the length of time you inhale. That will bring you into a much more calm and relaxed state. Some type of meditation where you go inside and pay attention to those places that feel tight. So right now, maybe I'm feeling this area right here. So I feel the tightness in this area, and I'm aware of it, and then I let my attention go right inside of it. That's just what I'm going to do in this moment. And I release the tension from that area. Might take you practice at first, but I know this. I've been doing this breath work. I've been doing it for years, but I've been doing it consistently again for 2 weeks. So there's a period of time I've been breathing the whole time, but doing conscious breath work, I've been doing it again in a very focused way with some mindfulness, paying attention to where the breath's going, where the tension is, releasing the tension, doing yoga postures, but I'll be in the middle of the dream world, and I'll be working with some real panicky energy in the dream world, and I'll just start doing the yoga breathing in the dream world. So those worlds are only separated, from my experience, in our consciousness. This world we talk about as the dream world. So we go to sleep at night, we wake up in this place, and this is the dream world. And then we come out of sleep and we wake up and we say, oh, this is the real world. And I'm going to suggest they're just both dream worlds. And the more it's like the subconscious and the conscious. So this real world is more conscious and the dream world is more unconscious. And those two, the healing to me is the merging of those worlds for them to be one. So we're living more unconsciously. We're living more in awareness that we are that consciousness that we perceived we are separate from. And we realize the separation was right here. It was all in our head. There's no separation. And the more that we hold on to the past, the more that we hold on to the traumas of the past, the more that we carry them forward into the present, the more traumas that are going to continue to happen. The more we do these healing sessions that I set up typically a few times a week for us to do, and you don't have to watch this whole video. You can just sit with the setting up of the field. When I do it a few times a week. I just set up a healing field, and then you can just hit the pause button. Now, at the end of the release and integration of the energies, there's a part that I'm going to do in a minute. There's a part at the end that you want to go back to. It's going to happen whether you go back and watch it or not, but when you go back and watch it, you actually have more of an experience of it. So at the end, that we're going to be doing in a minute or so, is the part where we go back and we bring the combined soul of ourself back into our body in present time. So let's just do that. So I'm going to look and see. So that's 4459. It's a long one. But I'm going to say, welcome back. And we're now going to be closing the healing field. So I ask the higher self, interdimensional being, Thoth and Ra, the deep self, and our soul ray group to assist all the souls that returned to the event to combine with that part of their soul that had remained at the event and bring that combined soul back into their body in present time with all of its wisdom, power, and clarity. I would ask all the souls to ground themselves into the healing center of the earth and open up the portal for the delivery of the new energies that we agreed to bring into the earth at this time. And I now ask all the beings to assist all of the souls to bring these new energies in now. And I ask that these energies be activated, and I let the universe know that this has been done and that it's good. So thank you for the degree you participated in this. It would have intimidated me a bit if I looked and I saw that it was going to be 45 minutes long. But I appreciate all that you're doing in the world to assist all of us who are in recovery from living in a traumatized body on a traumatized planet, and for letting the enormous changes that are taking place right now take place and be integrated because we're present. Amen, all women, and Nowmustgo.